Hey guys, Steve here with another 1918 Storm in the West video. We're going to be looking at turns 5 and 6 here, but the reality is we may not even get to turn 6. Now, if you watched the end of the last video, I had put in the description, which maybe isn't useful, to carefully examine the board position because I missed something as the Allies, and I made a tremendous mistake. And that I left some hexes without Zocs, and the German Stoss troops were able to basically run all the way through to the coast, putting a tremendous pressure point on the Allies, to the point now where, as I complete this, I'm reasonably confident that the Allied morale is down to 3, and German morale is at 27. We were able to basically come up here and surround Boulogne. We were able to run up into Calais, and then we were also able to sneak around here and get into Dunkirk behind the Allied line. So there's some really fast-moving sprinters, German units, just running. And what basically is going to happen here is that with the German move complete, you can see there's still problems for the Germans elsewhere on the map. But as it stands right now, this turn, this German action, we should be able to see. And I'm trying to screen as best I can. The Allies do have a way to get up here, but they're going to have some problems when they do. Ideally, we're going to clear that hex in the first combat. If we have to try again, we'll try again. We are likely going to smash these units all along here to some degree. But when it starts to the Allied turn again, basically everybody over here is going to be out of supply, basically. We do want to try to eliminate them as much as possible so that the Allies can't sneak up here and restore supply one way or the other by eliminating units or whatever. But that's basically where we want to be. And yeah, so we're going to likely see this all get smushed, and then these guys will be out of supply. The Allies will really have no way to get out. They'll be halved on attacks. They'll have minuses, all kinds of nasty stuff. They won't be able to do anything. And then at the end of that Allied turn, on turn 5 here, basically the rest of these units up here will go poof. Now they'll still have units down here and everything because of the Allied supply rules, but they're going to be weakened. The French will be fine, but the British will be weakened. And so this is really kind of potentially the end of the turn. So it's really going to matter, can the Allies do something to bring them up to 1 morale point before the end of the turn. I'm probably going to do a double check on the count of the morale points, but this is where we're at the end of the German normal movement. So very gnarly, very tough. It's going to be such that the British are effectively going to be knocked out of the war, the Belgians will be gone, and then it'll be up to, other than these weak British guys down here, then it'll be up to the French and the Americans to try to win the game. And I think they're going to have some difficulty in doing that, just because the Germans are going to have so much territory that they've been able to sort of defend, that getting them, from 27 or 30 morale down to 0 is going to be a tough thing to achieve. Though the Germans are pretty beat up, all things considered. So that's kind of, where things are standing. What we might see is just simply an early end game because the Germans have won, and then maybe I can set up the later scenario and see the Allies on the offensive, and we can still get some more gameplay out of the game before I stop coverage of it. So I'm having fun. This is, nail biter. But the Germans are doing quite well here. So I'm going to look over the map a little bit more and figure out what I want to do with these attacks, but then we'll look at conducting those here and see where we go. Okay, so I think the way that I want this to go is I want to create Zocs behind these units. So I think this is the first attack that we need to have happen. They do have 8 factors, and we can attack it with 16, 17, so 23, plus the artillery if we decide to use it here. So that would be 38 to 8. So that's 4 to 1 odds and a +2. 4 to 1 odds +2. Alright, we get a 3-3 result, so these guys are definitely destroyed. And we'll take a step loss, and a step loss. And we'll advance after combat. And we'll do this. And then we could attack here and do so with 8, 14 to 3, 14 to 3 with a +1. So 4 to 1 +1. I think what we'll do instead is attack so that it's 3 to 1 odds +1, and then that way we have less chance of losing a lot of units. Okay, so yeah, we got a 2-1 result. He has to be... Well, can he retreat upward? I guess he could. Do it that way. And then over here, sort of the final important area that we need to address would be 18 to 4, that's 3 to 1. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 4 to 1. +1, -1. Sorry, is that a city? That is a city, so it's -1. 4 to 1, -1. Alright, so that's a 2-2 result, and he can't retreat. Let me see if he can evacuate. I don't know that he can. Okay, that doesn't matter for retreat. So this guy's destroyed. We take, let's see, take a step loss. Take a step loss. Advance after combat. Well, okay. How would we want to do this? Step losses like that. Yeah. And then that brings the Allied morale down to 0. Yes, and then the movement, there we go. And then is there any point in doing any more attacks, because these guys are all going to be out of supply. I think that's all we need to do. Are there any attacks worth doing at this point? You actually could do stuff down here just to hurt the Allies a whole lot more. We could do 10-2, 5-1 odds, but that'd be pretty bloody, and I don't think the Germans want to risk it right now. Yeah, I think that's all we want to do, and then it'll be up to the Allies to try to take something back. Would they be able to do it? The only other thing worth doing is we'll roll. Yeah, see, I don't think it's even worth trying to attack with anything. I mean, we could just try to knock these guys out. They've got nowhere to go. It would be 11, 17, 21, 30, 45, 45 to 7. 6 to 1 odds plus 2. Yeah, these guys are toast, and we'll lose some units there, and that's all she wrote. I'm sorry, you guys didn't see that. I did attack, and we rolled well enough. We lost some units, but we completely obliterated the remainder. There's nothing left for the British to do. They are totally hosed. We've taken and moved through Boulogne, all that, and that's it. I mean, that's going to be the end of it, I'm quite certain. And here's sort of the critical part of it. If we said, okay, Germans are done, let's roll. We didn't shoot anything with Big Bertha. What is going to happen? Well, the Americans are going to have. Well, I gotta look at this. Turn 5. The U.S. doesn't get any reinforcements. So what's going to happen is they're going to get 2 divisions on the board. If there were 6 on the board that were in full supply, the Americans would get, or would give a Yanks are coming. That's when 6 or more full strength in supply divisions are on the map. The Allies get a morale point, but even once we get even if we get these 2 added, it's only 5. And it would have to be next turn. So even though we're going to get 5 Americans on the board, that won't be enough to give them a morale point. So it's going to be up to the Allies to figure out, can they get an Allied point somewhere in 1 combat round or 2 combat rounds in a row. I think there's a way for them to try and do it. It's going to come down to the French, but we'll cover that here in a minute. I'm going to take care of the reinforcements, movement, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see what the Allies can do. If they can't do anything, the game's going to end here on turn 5 with the Germans taking the Channel ports and knocking the British effectively out of the war on the Western Front, besides these guys who are weakened and all that good stuff. Okay, Allied movement is done, and here's the strategy here, I guess. These guys are out of supply. They can't do anything. They're so weak, even, that, I mean, at best, we would have 3, 1-1, -1. I mean, even if they managed to take it, I mean, it just wouldn't be enough. I mean, I can't find anywhere that they could attack that where it would make sense. They just don't have. And we could do a suicide attack, but it just wouldn't be worth it, I think. I mean, 1-1, -1 is. Yeah, I mean, you'd take it, but you would lose units, and we'll leave them there. I mean, there's just nothing. Well, I don't know. 1-1, -1. I'm trying to think if there's any other modifiers. 1-1, -1. So we do eliminate this unit, take 2 step losses. that'd be a -1 because of the Belgians. So that actually was a 2, 0. So yeah, let's get rid of these guys. So much for that. Belgians are out. So that was a failure. Over here we have something, so we would have 6, 8, 12, 18, a 5, 3 to 1 plus 1. 3 to 1 is, okay, 3, so we eliminate the unit. Eliminate this unit. And then we take a hit off the Americans. And we advance after combat. Oops. Now, unfortunately, that's not going to do them any good. They can't get to morale hexes, but at least they hurt the Germans some. I mean, that's as good as we get. Down here, they could try to make something happen. And this would be 12. So basically 2 to 1, -1 for the German trench hex. So that'd be a 2, so 1 step loss. 1, 2, 3, so not really getting any farther along. Now, this guy can get to Sedan, but not this turn, unfortunately. But these guys can attack here, so it'd be 8, 16, 20. 24 is 5 to 1, -2. 4 to 1, -2. I'm sorry, 5 to 1, -2. So we got a 3, which is 4 to 1, 4 to 2. So we take a step loss, and then we would retreat, but we can't retreat, so he's gone. And then we got to take 4 step losses, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and we could advance after combat. And these guys can stay, maybe advance 1. I mean, so there you go. I mean, we have this like huge hole in the line that the French have gotten, all because the Germans focused up in the north. It doesn't matter. What matters is down here. I think. Let me make sure. We could also attack over here. I'm not sure that we need to. I mean, no reason not to, I guess. So 12, 4, that's 3 to 1. 3 to 1 -2. Okay, that sucks. That's a 1. They'll retreat 1, and then these guys have to take 3. But we will advance after combat. So it all comes down to right here. Why does it come down to here? Well, there's Saint Mihiel, whatever, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's worth 1 morale point. The French can take it, and they have 2 combat phases to do it. They will get 1 morale point, which will keep them in the game, because we have to knock them down to 0 to win, because they're Central Powers. And what I probably should have done as the Germans is made sure to cover this, but I kind of forgot about it. It's like I got so much tunnel vision up here, and it was worthwhile to look at, right? I mean, you definitely care about it. But what really matters is down here. Also, I mean, I can't ignore it. I sort of did, but it matters a little bit here. Now, what's going to happen is if they can get the 1 morale point, it's going to go back to the Germans at turn 6. They're going to be trying to do everything they can to sweep down through. And if they manage to take Abbeville or Amiens, then it might not matter. But that could take time. So we'll have to see. Again, the British are pretty much out of the game. There's not much I can do now. But it's this. That's the last possibility. All right, so here we are. I had to stop and do the count up, make sure. I was trying to see if would I pull any other units. Would I have pulled any other units back? I mean, I guess I could have. I could have done this. I guess that's what I would do. So this ends up bringing it to 24. You know, and we pulled off enough, just for context, we pulled off enough where it's like we're not in danger anymore over here, so we could pull some units off and concentrate. We don't want to give up, you know, Verdun, because that would be bad. Well, there's not any way for the Germans to really take Verdun at this point, so we could do it. So it's 8 in these 3 hexes, so that's 24 to 6. That's 4-1 odds, and I'm pretty sure almost anything we do should result in this being lost. I'm pretty certain. So so it's 4-1. There's a concentric attack that's +1, but it is a town, which is a -1. It's also a forest, which is -1, and it's so it's a -4 to the die roll. So we'll see what we get. I'm not sure. Let's see, +1. It's a -3 to the die roll altogether. I'm sorry. We'll see what we get. Okay, well, I rolled a 2, -3. I believe, it's treated as a 1, so it's 1 step loss, which we'll have to take, and then we need to take 4 step losses. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we just skip right to the second combat phase, just very quickly, we'll adjudicate some of this. 9 to 5, that's not very good. It's not even 2-1, be 1-1, -1. I don't think we want to try that here. Over here doesn't make sense. I think the second combat phase for the Allies is just going to be right here. And so what's the new combat? Let's see, 4, 8, 11, 11 plus 7, 18 to 5. 18 to 5, that's 3-1. 3-1 -3 again. Well, we get another sucker roll. We can retreat back 1. These guys take 3 step losses, so 1, 2, maybe we say 3, but they take the hex, and so that gives the Allied morale up 1 and German morale down 1 to 29, and that is it for the Allies there. But they did enough. They actually did enough to stop the game from ending. Now we are going to do the terminal supply phase, so these guys up here go poof. And just to be certain, I'm going to do an extra count of everything, just to see what the VP situation is. Yeah, this is exactly, basically everything we took up here brought us to 15, and that is basically not enough to actually get what we need. So this is very nearly a automatic victory for the Germans, but it is not. Very close, but it is not. So we will go into turn 6. Oh, so close, so close. The British are kind of out of the game, which is bad enough for them. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man, crazy. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Okay. All right, yeah, we're going to go into turn 6. It's going to be the Germans who will go next. They've taken everything up here, so now we've got this wave that's going to crash down. We also need to start defending back here because the French have created a pretty significant opening that is going to have to be addressed one way or the other. So the Germans are going to basically have to send some of these guys up here, down here, and still come down. Now, if they can take these couple of hexes down here, then that may be all they really need. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do the supply strategic bomb. I'm sorry, not strategic bomb. That's for a different scenario. We're going to do no weather this turn. We're going to do replacement, strategic movement, regular movement for the Germans. And we come back, we'll see where we're at for turn 6. Okay, so the Germans did some replacements mostly on assault units, and then I railed or strat moved guys into Sedan to hold it. Also sort of moved to help protect Big Bertha and apply some pressure here against these weakened British units. I also pulled some guys back to kind of help get a line as these guys head south. And then we have a row of assault units that are going to likely make the push for Abbeville and will seek to take it, is basically the idea. But we're going to see how well it goes. So in terms of attacks, I don't think there's very many attacks that we can actually accomplish. That we could try here, and basically it would be 16 to 4. I'm sorry, 16 to 2, because these guys are halved right now. So 16 to 2 is 8 to 1 odds. We would have a, let's see, -1. So it'd be just a straight up die roll on the 7. Ugh, that'd be pretty nasty if we didn't roll well. But we could try it, sure. So we got a 3, so yeah, these guys are toast. 1, 2, and 3. And we have these guys advance after combat like so. So that's just eliminating British units that are going to probably never come back. And then over here, I think what we would have is 24 to 5. That's basically 4 to 1 odds, +1. 4 to 1 odds, +1. 4 to 1 odds, +1. Yep, that cocked. Alright, so he's eliminated. Take 1, 2, and I think we'll do 3, and we'll remove that unit there. So we'll have that, and then if we do the infiltration movement, we'll have these guys attack like so. Like so. Like so. Like so. And then it comes down to over here, we could take Abbeville. Now, this would be 24, attacking 4, so it'd be 6 to 1 odds, -1 for the river, and then a -2 for the city. It's a Stosslet attack. This would be 4 to 1, -2. 4 to 1, -2. I think we're okay to try it. And that's going to be enough to, let's see, what is that, 2? Okay, so they take a step loss, they retreat. These guys take a step loss, and I think we all shuffle in here. So that's going to bring the Germans back up to 31, the Allied morale back down, and I think that's it. And they can still shell Paris, almost. We got a 10, not a 12. So we took Abbeville. I don't know that the Allies can do anything about that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll kick it over to the Allies, and I'll do all the preamble stuff before their first attack. I have to reverse time a little bit because I screwed something up pretty badly. And I'm not sure how I want to deal with it. Because I basically had forgotten to put the U.S. reinforcements out, and so basically when I came down over here and I had this situated like so, I had 2 American units that I would have put somewhere. Now the question is, would I have put them in Abbeville? I don't know if I would have. I mean, it's really a tough thing to say, like, would I have put them there? If we said I did, then, and I'm sorry, I probably got these mixed up. Yeah. It would have added actually quite a bit of defense factors into this hex. So if that were the case, then it would be 7, 9, so it would have been 24 or whatever it was. I think maybe maybe it was down to this. That's how it would have played out. I think that's right. So it would have been 24 to 24 to 9 instead, which is different. Let me double check Allied stacking. Yeah, so this would have been fine. So it would have been, 24 to 9, which is only 2 to 1 odds. It would have been -2. And I rolled 2 to 1. Okay, so it would be, we'd have a step loss and a step loss, and that would be it. So we are not yet we are not yet at victory here. So for the Allies, yeah. So now I'm going to fix that, and we'll get the Allies. So the fix is going to be relatively straightforward. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing the American stuff, or the French and British American stuff here off camera. Okay, so here's the Allies. We have a offensive against Sedan going in, or at least we've got units set up to do that. We're going to continue to collapse the German line down here. We can't really do much more. We're kind of busted, but the Americans are going to try to force the situation over here. So get this guy out of the way. It's going to be 5, 9 to 5. We're going to whittle these guys away is the strategy. So 9 to 5. That's 1 to 1 odds. 1 to 1 odds straight up. Well, that's not good. 1, 2. Well, 1, 2, 3. Americans just ate shit on that one. That sucked. It's 3 to 1 -2 for the trench. Okay. I take a step loss, but the Allies take 3 step losses. 1, 2. We'll say 3. That's not good. Metz is at least conceivably in play. And so we have 8, 16 to 9, -2. 1 to 1 -2. I don't think that's going to work. We could try to drain the Germans, though, so we'll try it. And, okay, same thing happens. Jesus. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Well, we just chewed up most of our French reinforcements, so I don't think the French have much going for them now. Second attack down here would only be 13 to... Yeah, we're not going to do that again. We could try 9... Okay, this would be 3 to 1. 3 to 1 -2. We can... Yeah, I think we can do it. So 2 on a 3 to 1. Yeah, he can't retreat, so this German unit is destroyed. And then... oh, shoot. Well, that was dumb of me. Okay, these guys are all eliminated. I shouldn't have done that at all. Oh, that was dumb. That was really dumb. That was very dumb. Up here... 12, so 2 to 1, 2 to 1 minus, is that a town? -1, 2 to 1, -1. Alright, it's a 1 to 1. I don't think we had a second combat up there, actually. I think we ended up skipping it, didn't we? Or maybe I did attack there. Maybe I didn't attack there. So we would do it again. 11 to 5, that's 2 to 1, -1. And we got a 3. So he's eliminated. Takes 2 step losses. The French are in Sedan. So that's -1, +1. Okay, and that's the Allied turn. Not sure what to say there. I don't know. They're getting whittled away to nothing. So what do we do? Well, let's go into turn 7. Why not? Germans get 2 replacement points. I think we would do here and here. And then, let's see. I'll do movement off camera. Okay, so I got kind of carried away, and I thought I was recording, and I was not. So we did movement, and all I could really do is still try to pull some guys down. Sedan is lost, but I can hold on to Metz. I could beat up on these weakened British, but it was really all about Abbeville. And what I found was basically that we have Amiens under threat, but we couldn't quite get there across the river. But we did kind of move around. We've got these guys sort of cut off. I had done the first attack and only attack against a 3-stack in Abbeville, and we took 3 step losses off of them, but we took 2 on our own. And then when it came to infiltration movement, we sort of snuck around even more so over here. And so this should be, this could be the final combat, okay? And so I just wanted to be clear on that. I'm sorry that I sort of skipped over. I thought I was recording, and I guess I had not hit the button. So turn 7, this is the second German combat, and if we work out the numbers again, it's like 40 to 6, 6 to 1 odds. It's a flat die roll because the assault-led attack is a +1. The town in the concentric is actually a +1 because we no longer have the river penalty, but we do have a city. So a city is -2, but the concentric attack and Stoss-led attack negates it. So it's straight up die roll 6 to 1. If we roll a 3 or above, I think we're going to win the game. And I rolled a 4, So on the 6-1, a 4 is a 3 and 3. So these guys are eliminated. We lose 3 step losses. So 1, 2, and we'll say 3. We'll advance after combat. And I mean, I think that's it. That's Abbeville, so the Allies go back down to 0 morale. German goes back up to 30. There are not... Yeah, the American units aren't enough to get the American bonus. So it's going to come down to what can the Allies do on their turn to stop the win from happening. So we're back in a win condition. The Germans are sweeping down. I mean, it's going to get to the point where if they take Abbeville, I mean, I think the Germans have won. I mean, I'm not sure any other way to get through it. So Allies supply phase. These Americans are out of supply. These guys are all in weakened supply. The British would get 2 more replacement points. The French would get 1. They would use it, I don't know, to replace one of these weakened guys. I mean, their offensive's out of gas. The French's are. I mean, they tried, but they couldn't even get to Big Bertha. And is there anything that the Allies could do to get Abbeville back or to take another German victory space? This guy's Zocklock, and he can't. And he's under strength, so he would automatically lose. And he doesn't have infiltration movement yet. Nothing down here would work. If we look at the Sedan guys, what's the nearest victory space? Well, nowhere within 3 movement points, and no matter what we did down here, it wouldn't be enough to get to Metz or any other victory point spaces. So if we just tossed all that out and said, okay, that's it. Yeah, I mean, they can't get anywhere. The Allies literally cannot get to a morale point. So I think that's game. That's game there. Central Powers, Germany wins on turn 7. So late June 1918, the German offensive, the Storm in the West, take the Channel ports, force the British into a untenable position, and the Germans sort of, give and the Americans heavily bloodied, and the French basically saying, okay, we're doomed. We made some gains, but not enough gains. It's just us fighting the war by ourselves. We're going to give up, and there's going to be an armistice signed, relatively favorable to the Germans. And that's it. We did it. We got through it, guys. We got through the redo in only 3 videos. 7 turns. This one went a little long because of that, but 7 turns. I think the key thing was we did have the concentration of force. I made some foolish mistakes as the British, I will admit, and some die rolls went very badly for the Allies. If they had done better, this game might have been different. I'm gonna do a quick post-mortem for this in just a second. I'm going to stop the video here for now and put my camera on charge. Okay, so I want to talk a little post-mortem here. It's going to make this video extra long, but I think it's worth talking about and just see kind of where we're at and have it be one video after all this. So I think some of this end victory stuff might have come down to a couple of things. I interpreted the hex side, that is, if I can get it on camera, right here to be land passable and not an all-sea hex side because of the river there. Now, if that is incorrect and that is an all-sea hex side and I could not move from here to here, I don't think it really would have mattered as much because I would have gotten away to still make this attack and still make it the way that I did, because I would have shifted over here. Well, I guess I would have been Zock locked, but I would have been able to infiltrate move and infiltrate, move over here, and the results would basically have been the same. This is one of those tricky things. Like this hex side, if it's an all-C hex side, matters a lot in the case that we just played. But I think in my given situation, it still wouldn't have mattered. So the overall strategy of having like a 6 hex wide, like, super stoked collection of German units paid off dividends. So thank you, I think it's Louis maybe, if he's French, who pointed that out as a good way to go. It worked. Now, I won't say, like, it. Obviously, we won the game, and we did it on turn 7 as Germany, right? Central Powers won. I do not think, based on this play, that will happen every time. So I don't believe that what I did here was the foolproof, like, yes, if you do this every time, you're going to win the game. I don't think that's the case, mostly because I rolled pretty well as the Germans on average, probably. I think if I really thought back on it. I think there were some critical combats where the Allies rolled 1s that really hurt them, and if that had not happened, they might have played a little bit better. I probably came to the British's aid too late, so as the Allies, I could have been pulling off French units to support much earlier, and I did it when it was far too late, thinking the British could hold their ground. That didn't really work. And it didn't do us much, right? Like, okay, we used those French units to come up through here, but the reality is, I mean, they almost got in behind Big Bertha, but they didn't. They got to Sedan, but once you get to Sedan, where can you go? I mean, you're going to be trudging through the Ardennes, and you could maybe get close to, Maubeuge and Charleroi at some point with enough movement, but the Germans are going to draw off units as well to protect those areas. So, I mean, no matter which way I cut it, I think the Allies just, I made some poor choices. The really poor choice was leaving that lane of Zockless hexes where the Germans were able to zip up and take Calais and Dunkirk. That was very poor play on my part. I would think I would not make that mistake again. I think there's a whole issue where it's like, if you're not careful, you don't realize that units can get as far as they can get because you're so used to the line and the Zocs that you sort of forget that, well, yeah, if you leave that one hex open and they can slip through, they're going to cause all kinds of problems in your backfield. And I saw that to great effect, obviously, as the Central Powers, as Germany, we performed very well. The funny thing was, even though we made this breakout as the French, I mean, they basically have lost all offensive momentum because now they're only getting like one replenish point, one replacement point a turn, and that's not enough. When you take like 3 losses on an attack, I mean, that's just not much. So the French start with a decent number of replacement points, but it's really the Americans who are going to have the most and the recurring amount of the most coming in, where you really want to utilize the Americans. But I squandered the Americans trying to save the British, and it just did not work out to their favor. Now, I think even if they got the Yankees morale point, that wouldn't have saved them. They still would have been brought down due to the Abbeville seizure. The funny thing, the way the morale system works is, like, if the Germans knock you down to 0, and they take another area that is worth morale points, you can't get any lower than 0. But the Allies can potentially take something back, and as long as they can take something back, even if it's just like, let's say in one turn the Germans took a morale place worth 1 and a morale hex worth 2, so a total of 3. Well, and maybe they started with 2. Well, even losing those 3 points would take you down to -1, but you can't have a -1. You would just have 0. And if the Allies managed to take the 1 place back, you could end up with a positive 1 morale and not lose the game as the Allies. I think that's a little, it's odd to think about, but the way Ted Racer puts it in the rulebook is that it just is reflecting the overall Allied morale due to the Americans being involved in the war, that they just sort of can bounce back from some stuff. And I think what really mattered was that we very specifically took Abbeville, brought them down to 0, and they could not pick up another one anywhere. It was mathematically out of the question. They simply couldn't make it happen. That that allowed the Germans to win when they did. But it was such a near-run thing, right? Now, I could imagine a situation where if we really wanted to try different stuff out in this game, we could have put our 6 hex wide attack front in the center and try to get down to Paris. We could have chose Verdun, but as we talked about in one of the earlier videos, it's really hard to find where you're going to get all the additional morale points that you really need to win an early victory. But obviously, wherever you're going to create a big wide opening, I mean, you have the capability to really run up the flanks of the line, and we saw the French be able to do that in a couple of key places. But when you start to run out of replacement points, I mean, it doesn't do you any good to even have good combats. I mean, you can have little combats that go okay, but if you're losing, 3 or 2 steps and you're succeeding in your attack, but you're only getting 1 or 2 replacement points, that doesn't give you a whole lot of leeway to keep your drive going. So it's like you have to hope that you break through well and continue to make that breakthrough valuable. Now, I'll admit, the French were not using their replacement points to bring in their tank after a while. We were using the replacement points basically to flip French units. That was basically because if I was going to restore the tank, the armor unit, it'd have to, rail into a city, and then we'd have to wait another turn to use it. And it just seemed more economically valuable at the time to flip units already on the board where they could keep pushing. So that's sort of a decision, a risk-reward. Those extra combat factors from the tank would be valuable, but anywhere where the Allies were on the defense, like the British, it was like there wasn't as much a point to restore the Allied tank unit because it was only going to add a little bit of defense factors when the defense factors really mattered in the Channel ports and trying to defend and hold some sort of line. So it's like once you're really on the back foot, like the British were, the tank doesn't help you as much. You can counterattack, but it doesn't help the strategic situation. Where if you're on the offensive, then yeah, if you have the strategic offensive, then those tanks are really valuable. So we sort of, we focused on the British past the point that they could sustain themselves, even with their decent replacement points early on, to just shutting them out. By which point, I mean, all these guys, once they lost direct supply access, were super weak. I mean, we could have picked on those guys if the game was going to continue going, for instance, and we had them down to 1 morale point. I mean, these guys, that American set of units would be gone, and then you would just see the Germans start to swing down this way and potentially get into Paris, right? I mean, it just they would smush these British units, and then no matter what the French decide they want to do, I mean, it just it might ultimately not matter because the Germans are going to march into Paris. So I think, any which way I really cut it, I do think this was a German victory for sure. But the weakness of the German line was showing itself as they were starting to collapse over here. Again, we got the Allies to Sedan, but everything else is just, a rough situation. Now, I don't think I'm done with the game yet, so if you're watching this, you're going, oh, that was really interesting to watch, but I want to see the Allies on offensive. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this a video here, so that was a bit of a post-mortem. We had fun. I had fun. This was good stuff. Interesting to see the lines just start to disappear and dissipate after a while as all these guys just die off. But what we will do is I will probably clean this up, and then we will look at the Allied offensive scenario. If I look, Allied offensive scenario that starts on turn 9 and has the Allies on the offensive. I think we can just set up that as a follow-on set of videos, and that's only going to run turn 9 and turn 16, which we will be able to get through at a pretty quick clip, I would hope, for theirs. Now, there's probably all kinds of setup strategies for the Allies I need to figure out for that, but yeah, I mean, I think we're in good shape to try it out and see what happens. The Germans won't have stormtroopers, Stasstruppen. They won't have a lot of advantages, and then it'll be the Allies on the offensive pushing into Belgium and down here and all that good stuff. So we certainly want to try that out and see how well it goes. But for this redo with a proper German setup, it proved to be effective. It did work out that the Germans won. That wasn't guaranteed. If they failed, we would have played out the rest of the turns, but it would have been a really tight thing. I think the Germans had done very well here. So yeah, we're going to try the Allied offensive scenario next as a way to sort of complete our game experience for this game, at least for what I'm showing on camera. Again, having a good time. This is interesting, interesting stuff. Not a very complicated game, which is nice. It's just sort of fun to kind of just get through and plays pretty quick once you get going. So cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more and see the Allied offensive scenario, hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And until then, take care. Keep gaming.